What does disruptive innovation mean to you?
We often talk about a quote that's attributed back to Steve Case that innovation without execution is hallucination. So for us, it's a lot about the discipline of actually putting this into practice. The disruptive versus incremental part, I think there's a lot of academic talk about what that could mean if we're really displacing something as compared to just adding something new. And I don't really sweat that too much because I think even a lot of incremental innovation can get us pretty far.
How difficult is it to be disruptive for the sake of innovation in the clinical development space?
Clinical development is tricky. People often point to all the reasons why it's hard. It's heavily regulated, there's a lot of process, there are a lot of different stakeholders, but there are a lot of industries that are complicated and regulated with a lot of different stakeholders. And if I can deposit a check with my mobile phone in the heavily regulated banking and finance industry, that tells me that that's not really a good enough excuse for why it's so hard. I also don't think technology is the barrier. I do believe in there's an app for that world today, that for just about any challenge we may want, somebody out there probably has a technical solution pretty well developed or fully developed. And to me, that really leaves our own culture. Innovation today, to me, is increasingly more about change management and our ability to actually shift and pivot our organizations to embrace these new opportunities.
You keep your eye out for all kinds of innovation. What are you excited about? Technologies or new business models even that can change the way we develop drugs?
Just as a general trend, this movement around collaboration is unprecedented. Not just that we have initiatives and consortia, because we've always had those, but the level of engagement in these initiatives is really remarkable. And when my teams engage with peers from other pharma companies today, there's no longer a warm-up period or an acclimation period. They can just sit down and get to work together. The collaboration across companies is really remarkable. I remain very excited about a lot of digital opportunities, social media, mobile, health information technology as three verticals under digital that we continue to monitor and look for new ways to leverage and incorporate in our trials. But I think specifically the networks that are forming in healthcare, integrated delivery networks, accountable care organizations, I think are going to create some very interesting new opportunities for new models around clinical research. We talked, for instance, at the DPHARM meeting about new ways to engage physicians who are treating patients in research. And I think that those new networks will help to stimulate and help us with the incentives around those models.
And also new ways to make being part of a clinical trial easier for the patients.
Quite honestly, I think we should all ask ourselves in this industry, why would a patient participate in a study? Other than this being an option of last resort and wanting access to an investigational medicine, what are we giving them that makes this worth the time and effort? So I think on the one hand, we have to lower the barriers for participation and make it easier. We see wonderful stories like the Novartis-Walgreens example, the work my team at Pfizer had done in the past around the virtual trial, other ways to make study participation more convenient, more accessible.
And we heard Shire talk about the e-consent solutions.
Absolutely,
to make
get them
that
better
process
informed.
easier for patients. Yes.
Absolutely, and other uses of mobile to help patients on that journey throughout their research participation. How other mobile applications that we're seeing at the DPHARM meeting to keep patients engaged during their study. One of the things that our teams at Pfizer are very keen on, though, is also this notion of deliverables at study end, that when a trial completes, a patient should get something. And on the one hand, we earlier had done just some simple thank you notes, and it was remarkable just how grateful a patient or a family member was just for a thank you. And then we moved on.
Thank you for being in our trial.
Thank you, exactly. And then we moved on and said lay language summaries of the study results. What we learned in the trial and that we're publishing, we should put in a lay language and deliver back to the patient so that they can learn what we learned. And now the latest progression in that for us is the work we're talking about at DPHARM with the Blue Button and how we can return back to that individual patient their own electronic clinical data. These are deliverables, just like any other deliverable at the end of the study, and the patient deserves some deliverables back as well.
Craig, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate being here.